The doors of the Love Church are now open. Dear world, you name it, we cover it from the world of singles to the behind the scenes of the greatest movie ever filmed, called Marriage. We dig into everything from dating 101. Why won't they commit? It's complicated. I can't do it if it's the three of us. They're a good person, but I'm not attracted to them in that way. 2, they really didn't disclose who they were before I said I do. How do I do this if they can't keep a job? The bills are paid, but the bedroom is suffering. Did I marry you or did I marry your family because we only can take care of us? Let's open up our marriage. Why do I have to buy into your beard gang illusion? You could have told me you were down low and we could have remained friends and not married. And last but not least, did you marry me or your pastor? Have we gotten your attention yet? If so, tune in to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio, Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, if you want to hear more of today's real issues in the world of love. The doors of the Love Church are now open.
All right. Listen, the doors of the Love Church are indeed officially open today. All right.
Lord have mercy.
We ripped down the tape around the stairs. You know how them churches, when they always trying to rebuild something, they had a tape around the stairs of the kids.
Right. sliding down the banister and everything like that. Playing on. Get off those steps. Y'all gonna hurt yourself.
Right. Yes. All right. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. I'm your host, Charles Dixon, and I am here with my co-host, Mr. Adam Ford. How are you, sir?
What's up, fam? I'm doing okay, man. It's kind of it's been a dreary Thursday today. It
really has. I think that's kind of it's like an overcast everywhere. It seems like.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's just kind of one of those challenging days where you just got to kind of push on through it.
True that.
Well, listen. Today's topic, we need all of the sunshine we can find.
I know that's right. Hey, you already set this thing off, man. So I'm feeling some kind of way anyway.
Yeah. So listen, today is one of these days. So listen, people. Today we are going to dive in to the plight or the state of Black love. Basically, we're talking about in this commune of time that we're living in, and all that we are seeing and have historically been seeing. Mm-hmm. Do we feel that as Black men and women, we are holding up the torch to carry on to the next generation, into the next generation? Or, from my opinion, are we suffering from a severe case of relational fatigue? I feel like as a overall race, we are tired. That's like the key word. That's the one thing that we can all agree on. The women have their thoughts, the men got their thoughts. And in the middle, there is I'm tired. Because we probably hear the women say it more than men. You'll hear women say, you know what? I'm getting ready to go over here, and I don't care if the person is Chinese, whatever. I have had enough. You hear the women say it, then you hear the men. Men, here's the way men will quantify it. Men won't necessarily say it that way, but they're more active. Men will just be like, you know what? I don't know about y'all, but I'm not dealing with that. I'm done. I'm over here, right? Women will think it. Some women will date it, and some women will move and act on it. But more so, it'll stay here. For Black men, it's right. And so what we're talking about today, the reason I bring up the word fatigue within our race is when we all know what happens. Like when a person is tired, you're not getting 100% of them in any way, right? The person is not necessarily their decision. You ever heard somebody trying to tell you to do something, Adam, and you have to be like, I said later. But maybe if they keep asking you, you do it anyway because you're making a fatigue decision, right? And so how we are in this world, a lot of us are acting out of emotion because we are tired of the results that we're seeing.
Okay.
We're not seeing lack thereof from our own people, right? From our own race. So we're thinking, the man is thinking she's not delivering. The woman is thinking, I'm tired of the lies and the cheating. So I'm got to be something better than this, right? And so everyone gets together and come up with their own summation of what's happening or not happening within our race. And then we start to go and we go elsewhere. Now, what's left in the middle is the next generation, the children, or just even the elders that see it and they're like, well, wait, what's going on? What are y'all doing? I know this is a new day, but have y'all not forgot? Like, have y'all not forgotten what we have worked so hard to get us to this point, right? And so nowadays, what used to be, like the things that are happening nowadays, you can only imagine. Like if Martin Luther King was alive and Medgar Evers, all them people today, it would be a whole different ball game. If you see all these commercials where they're like commercializing it, like the athletes and they're mixed or either mixed or Caucasian wives and happy families, it'll be like, wait a minute, didn't this person just get strung up over there? You understand what I'm saying? So it would be an entirely different thing. And so now that we're in a different generation, we're embracing things differently. We're seeing things differently. I mean, freedom of choice is at an all-time high, and people are just doing them. Now, I have to say this, and I'm putting my white gloves on.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
This particular topic, we want to be sensitive because honestly, this is just a conversation that we want to start, and probably is the beginning of many to come down the line. But as a beginning, it is something that is prevalent and it's in our face, and it's worth a conversation, right? It's happening all over the place, and you have people, you have accomplished men that are probably saying, or just regular men, period, that maybe he's trying to, as they would say back on New Jack City, my girl down at the bank, he was like I guess he was trying to say the girl at the bank had the good job, but in other words, he's trying to holler at her, but she wanted either the white or the mixed breed guy. She didn't want the black dudes, right? So in his mind, he's just like, well, what's it going to take to get you so I can get your attention? And so vice versa, you have the African-American woman who's looking to say, I just want my own king so I can support him, so on and so forth. But every time we look around, whether it is our top paid athletes, top paid actors, people that are in high office, it's almost like a thing where it's such a trend where you'll be like, man, I love that particular person. Right on, brother. And then as soon as you see them and they're on a magazine or they come out for a public thing, you're like, oh, he chose this. You know what I'm saying? So it becomes a thing where I remember having a discussion where it was some men and women were talking. This was some years back, and it was about the same issue, but just not as broad as today. But one lady asked the question, is it that black men feel we don't know how to balance a checkbook? No, she was trying to say, do black men feel we can't handle their money past a certain point? Like to a degree, we can have your kids, be your baby mama, we can do this and move in with you, and some of us even get married. But when we elevate, we separate. And so the question she had was, why does it seem like when some black men get to a certain level, it changes? And so I turned it around and I said, I said, hey, I can't necessarily answer that question. I think if I had to take a stab at it, we can't say it's certainly nothing sexual. Every race likes sex of women. There is no tricks over in that race, not in this race and all those kind of things. It's just whatever you make it, right? But that tells me it has to do with the exchange within the relationship portion, not the physical, just the relationship. And I think in some cases, some men possibly think it has to do with this particular face on my arm gives me a particular status and a particular rite of passage that I won't have to deal with necessarily challenges if I had my own kind on my side. There's some different challenges that come with that. I may not be able to get in such and such door if I had this one on my arm. You understand what I'm saying? And so it's the same thing where you have some women that maybe have elevated to a higher level in status. She's a colored sister, and it's no different. Some of them will choose Caucasian, different races, Latino men, and they go on about their way. And everybody has their own justifications for it. And so we're left with this case. And so, by the way, everybody, a lot of this has drummed up from D.L. Hughley had made a post on his page, and there was another popular person who made a post about this, and it primarily was prompted from the last NFL draft. In the NFL draft, what is? I'm not paying attention to the comments.
Yeah, don't pay attention to the comments, bro. Not yet.
From the NFL draft. What was noticeable for some reason this particular time that they made a reference to was when a lot of these African American athletes were getting their phone calls of acceptance on the first round. You know, the first round draft pick is the big deal, right? Not that any other ones that don't matter, but the first rounds are the cream of the crop mostly, right? And so when they were all getting their calls, people kept taking notice that a lot of those calls were the young black men, but they were surrounded by a lot of women that weren't their color. Right. And so it became so D.L. Hughley was like, wait, what is happening? Like basically what's going on that this is becoming non-existent, that we're not seeing our own connected. And so what I took from that is, like, I can hear off into the distance someone saying, well, my child was raised well-to-do, right? My child was raised well-to-do. We didn't lack anything with money. So I sent them to the best schools. And so he or she made a life wherever they were. But my answer to that would be that as it may, we can take our kids to wherever school, whatever suburb. But when those kids come back home, they're reminded that I have an African-American mother and an African-American father every day, right? So there's a conscious, when we choose to psychologically shift, there's a conscious decision being made to say, I'm okay with my choices swaying to the side, right? And just being okay with it. And so we'll start there, Mr. Ford, and I'll let you go ahead and open up this box of cereal. We'll go from there.
Well, basically, I feel like I've been set up. I feel like this is a setup, you know, and I'm not doing the show today. I just wanted to sit here and tell you I'm not going to. I'm out.
Oh God! Oh Lord, Mr. Ford, come on, man. Let's be a team sport. He's like, that's it. It's setup time. Let's go. No,
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I need peace in my household. I don't need this kind of trouble coming to my front door. I don't need this trouble.
God.
I need peace. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing, bro? What are we doing, man?
Oh God.
Oh, let me read this daggone thing. Okay, let's
all
talk.
right.
Does Black love still exist? Simply put, continuance of the Black family's rich legacy solely rests upon the actions of both Black men and women committing to the cause of preserving the culture in the form of Black love. So if love is indeed blind and has many of us walking into various colors of relationships, perhaps handlers of the culture are in order to ensure we are guided by the white king back to our rightful positions in the family so that it prospers. I really don't like the white king part, but anyway, we'll talk about that later. Sure, this is not an easy feat by far, with all the many nuances of choice available today, but it's a cause that is noteworthy of a fight to make good on what our ancestors started.
Yeah.
Lord, you know what? Let me just be honest. I knew at some point in time this was going to be a topic of discussion. I knew
we had talked about this some years back. We talked about this some years back.
Yeah. But this is a conversation that we have. We had this conversation. I don't know if anybody else. I don't know if our audience knows this or not. But I'm married to a Mexican, Maria, and you've seen her. She's been in the comments. You know, so I'm in an interracial marriage. There's, you know, and I love her with all my heart. So here's my thing, and I want to set this out from the very beginning. When I got divorced and I moved from the East Coast to the Midwest, you know, I still wanted to be in a relationship. I wanted to have somebody to share my life with. I wanted to be with somebody. Having said that, of course, was doing online dating and trying to find that person that could fit my life and I could fit their life as well. So there was no intent from me just to look for somebody who wasn't black. I want that to be clearly understood. My intent was not to find somebody who wasn't black. My intent was to find somebody who would love me for me, and I could love them for them. That was completely it. And I know there are others out there who search with intent. They're looking for somebody who's not black. They're looking for somebody who's another race. Hey, if that floats your boat, by all means, knock yourself out. Do what you got to do. But as for me, I was just looking for love. And I was looking for somebody who was going to love me for me. And again, I could love them for them. And so when I met Maria, she kind of, there was an instant connection that was there. Instant connection. From the moment that we met, there was instant chemistry. It wasn't hard. It was easy. There was always, there seemed to be a level of instant comfort that was there, and safety and security. And so to be honest with you, I was, it was my first relationship, never had one before it. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what that I was going to encounter or experience as a result of it. But I did understand my decision. And what I mean by that was I knew that the moment that I stepped out of the black community in terms of being in relationship with a woman, I knew that my life was going to change. Yeah. It was going to be different. Wow. And that I was going to automatically draw looks. We would automatically get those looks that we still get. I don't pay them that much mind nowadays, but earlier on in the relationship, I was definitely noticing the eyes, if you will, and the looks and the shade that I was getting as a result of my decision. But I was clear in that decision that this wasn't about me trying to step outside of the community, but it was me looking for love. That's what this was about, and that's what I wanted. So if it came in a package that wasn't my skin tone, I was good with that. I was good with that. So this is going to be an interesting discussion today. This is going to be a discussion.
That's good stuff, man. I mean, I think it's a good and relevant topic because, when I step back and I look, well, first of all, kudos to you and Maria on your love quest. That's for real talk. That's not a thing that you get every day. So when people are able to find it, amazing. To me, I look at, like, when I sit back and I observe other cultures, I don't care if it's like Russian, Asian, Italian, whatever, all around the country and the world, it's like, for instance, us, there doesn't seem to be, as it pertains to love, marriage, and so on, it doesn't seem to be quite the mass exodus happening as it is in our own community.
Okay.
Like, and when I say exodus, I'm talking about choices to love outwardly, as opposed to inwardly. And so what's happening is now, we have this great divide. We have this breakdown in our relationship ecosystem, and now we have the like you said, the women are fed up, the men are making their selections for whatever reasons. Hey, I'll catch the devil's advocate rocks and bring them forward at them.
Okay.
All right. On one hand, you have the women keep me honest. If whoever y'all comment or whatever,
they're gonna keep you honest.
Yeah, you'll have the women that will say, why did such and such person choose to go over there? You can't handle a strong black woman, right? And then you'll have the men that'll say, I don't got time for that kind of disrespect. She don't do nothing, no way. I'm going to go over here where I can be treated like a king. So there is a saying that says, in the middle of both of those gripes is the failure to take accountability for the lack, whatever it is being communicated that's not being corrected. Yeah. And the easy route is, I can just go on over here and clean my life slate and go to another side, right? I mean, when you come outside of your race, like you said, in taking your example, when you come outside of your race, you got to know what you're prepared for, right? Because when you go into another realm, it's not just your spouse or your husband. It becomes your person's family, your person's friends, your person's circle of dynamic, their work. When you go, even when you guys are independently going wherever you're going, there's that whole, heck, I remember myself. I have certainly, which will bring me to my next point. I have had my my tour of the world myself. You know, I have to be honest. You know, I've had my tour.
Now you want to be modest. Oh, now you want to be modest. Okay, whatever.
But I can sincerely say this. I'm not going to say in some of the scenarios that I may not have been open for the full Monty, right? Okay. But I will say it wasn't something that I was deliberately saying to myself, I'm denouncing this for this. Because I always have been like, if I can get this right where I'm at in my relationship or my situation, I'm good, right? Sometimes as a black man, and I'm sure as black women get it too, you get people from other races that are attracted to you, right? They're gonna come and shoot their shots or what have you. And so women probably have their stories, same as men. And so, which brings me to my next point. Most of the time, I'm going to speak for men. Most of the time, when black men step across the fence to other races, it's usually for one of two reasons. Okay. One is exploration. Two is for the expedition. The exploration is, let me see what's all the fuss and hype. I have never did X, Y, Z. I've never hung out. I've never was intimate, whatever. Let me that person look a little bit of this. Let me see what that might be like. You're exploring, but you're not convinced to say I'm making a change. I'm just exploring. Then on the other side, it is the expedition. The expedition says I have made an educated decision. I have made an educated guess. I have packed my bags already, and when I go over here, I'm gone. I don't intend to go back. If I lose out over here, guess what? There's another color over here, but I ain't going back over there because I'm convinced that I'm done with that exchange between our two colors. And you decide to go on and you move on. And that's typically how the black men line. That's why when you see certain black men, rarely will you see some black men, they'll make, like if we see some of our upper echelon guys, when you see them divorce, they carry on the torch to the next person of like color. They don't. You rarely do you see them revert back. Now we do see some of our older couples that, like, let's just say Angela Bassett, her husband, some of the other couples that are like lasting black couples, right? You may see that. So if they got divorced, they may end up with another black person. So be it. But usually when the men make their decisions for some reason, it's hard to them to go back. And so it just becomes, so that makes me say to myself, what is it about our great divide that we struggle so much to get along? Like, I'm thinking about it as a black man. So I'm raised by a black woman. I'm raised by a black man. I had 4 sisters, black sisters. So to me, I have this comparison of that's my family, okay, so and so and so and so. So those are the things I can kind of agree with, I kind of connect with. So as I'm pandering about in life and in relationships, sometimes my more successful relationships are the ones where we can agree to be on the same page psychologically about life. We see life the same. When struggles happen and when things happen, we can say, oh, that was messed up. I can only imagine if I were in a situation or a marriage or something like that, and me and the person were of different races, right? And the person, let's just say when something hurricane-ish like George Floyd, right? Comes down the pike. And that's just, my wife is Caucasian. And she says, I just don't agree with why they're arresting those cops. They got families. They didn't do anything wrong. On my side, I'm saying, didn't you see his knee on his neck?
Right.
I mean, that's what they're trained for, but so there's no empathy. It's just kind of like that's where the divide happens. And now that's extreme, but it's a case that you always have to be aware of, because there's always those times in life where things may happen that we're unaware of. Oh, wow. This is a crazy world we live in. So we never know the pitch we're thrown at the mound. We might have to catch a fastball, curveball, and that affects every life, every race differently. And so usually when those things happen, depending on how strong your relationship is, you connect and you draw strength from there. So that's why I say I always give kudos if people can have successful interracial marriages, because I know it's difficult. It's not an easy thing to maintain connections at a level under so much duress, scrutiny, hate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? All those things. So
let me kind of like let me address a couple of the things that you just said. So you said it's not easy to have an interracial marriage. It's not easy to have a marriage.
Period today. Yeah.
Period.
Right.
It's not easy to have a marriage, period. So whether it's interracial or of the same race, you're going to be dealing with issues and things that happen. But the reality is marriage is not necessarily, it's not a cakewalk. Yeah. Okay. You got to put your time in. You got to do your work. You got to make sure that you're doing that. The lines of communication are continually open, so that there's a constant dialogue happening between the both of you, so that you're always on the same page as much as possible. So the whole idea that interracial marriages is harder or more difficult than a regular marriage, nah.
All right.
Nah, let me go ahead and dispel that. Now, mind you, there are some unique challenges, and again, I'll talk about this a little later in terms of the eyes that are on you, that are watching you, but in all reality, no, it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same. Yeah, I think one of the things that you said, you were talking about the whole George Floyd incident in terms of what happened in her. Yeah, if you happen to have somebody who was not, black, I think the whole idea of the black experience in this country. Yes, as black folk, we have a unique experience. Yeah, in terms of the way we were brought here, our slavery, the things that happened to us, and even to this day are still happening to us. That is a experience that we are all having. Now, there are those other minorities that are also experiencing some things that aren't fair, that aren't just, that aren't right. But I believe in a large part, we are still very much so still experiencing those things as a race, still experiencing those things as an ethnicity to a greater degree, because there are more of us here. Okay. Yeah. One of the things that I have realized in terms of dating somebody or marrying somebody, being in a relationship with somebody who's not black, is the idea, or rather the concept of being able to articulate and explain to them what the black experience is. Yeah. So that is not lost on them, so that they completely understand what's happening. I know me and my wife, we've had various discussions, but the reality is that even with my black culture and my black experience, having to explain the various nuances, details that are there so that she has a full understanding of it, it's also true from her side as well, being a Mexican in this country. Yeah. Explaining her Mexican experience as an immigrant coming into this country, the whole idea of having to apply for a green card and becoming a U.S. citizen, that in itself is also an experience that is just as valid as my black experience. And so for both of us, we have to be able to communicate to one another what our experiences are, so that we can understand where each other are coming from. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it's not just enough for it to be on my side, and I have to tell you all of the stuff that I'm going through, all the stuff that I experience, all these injustice that's happening to me. But on the same token, what she's experiencing in this country, what's happening with her in her life, And so it's when we have that communication, that open line of communication, that we are able to share, we're able to discuss the things and gain a deeper understanding of one another, that we grow to appreciate each other even more, which strengthens the whole entire relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I just kind of wanted to address that, so we don't walk away thinking that, you know, we got to explain everything to them.
Yeah.
We got to, I mean, yes, we do have to explain some things, because there's some things that she's not going to understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's also some things in her culture that I'm not going to understand. Yeah. So I need for her to explain those things to me, so that we both walk away and can appreciate each other's personal experience as we are as people.
Yeah. So here is something that I've thought about that's kind of deep when I ponder on it. Mm-hmm. And if I look at it from a mother, like if someone is a mother that has a son that has made a choice outward of the race, okay. Or a father that has a daughter that has made a decision outside the race. Now, most of us, we kind of taught, like, you know, they'll say, you know, in our community, you'll look and you'll see the little girl and they'll be like, oh, look at her spitting image. Oh, that is his baby for sure. You know, there's this alluding to her being spoiled and the apple of his eye, right? And the same thing hails for the boy and his mother. You know, they often would say a boy's first introduction to love is his relationship with his mother, right? And how she grooms him and dotes him about. Now, I've heard in some scenarios that parents at some point can feel a little offended, right? Really? They'll feel offended because they feel like I raised you, right? We programmed you as a family. Okay. To think like this, to believe like this, to love, to defend like this, what have you. And so I believe in the Black experience, in a healthy experience. I got to say that. In a healthy experience, the black family prepares you for the pitfalls of life from our lens and our experience. Right. So when our children go off and make decisions outside of our culture, then it becomes, well, you mean to tell that's like a smack in the face? Didn't your Aunt Barbara, you know, it's a thing where to say you were surrounded by all of these women and men of color, right? And then so it's like, but you chose the blah 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 blah. So then it became, so now all the programming we have done as a culture and as a family, in order for you to be indoctrinated and to adopt yourself over there, whether a man or woman, you have to then become deprogrammed and reprogrammed under another system. In most cases, in order to be authentic, I'm gonna say this like this. Most other cultures are solid in their culture and conviction about who they are. We could not go over into China and pull some of the stuff that we do over here. True. Some places we would go to, they would have you arrested just like that. Oh, this is not going on. You will not be doing X, Y, Z. Over here in the land of the free, we truly are free, and we do it in that fashion, right? And so we over here, we do all of these things, and it's just like, okay, we go along to get along. But in order to really, this is just my opinion, to be fully indoctrinated, you and your person has to say, I know you, I know where you come from, I know you, I know where you come from. You good with it? I'm good with it. Let's share it, good, bad, and ugly. Let's embrace it, good, bad, and ugly. Let's go on. Now, the problem I see with a lot of these particular races, sometimes outside of our races, particularly with our men, I see them ride with our men as long as the wave and the tide is consistent. But when that tide breaks, I gotta go. Perfect example. Now, maybe this is a poor choice of an example.
There we go.
Diddy loved himself some J-Lo, right? When he was with J-Lo, he may not even notice it. His whole demeanor and the way he acted was totally different. He was just like, he was still Diddy, right? But the way he was into her was a little different. Now, when he's out there, Crystal, and then she had her own bag, but he really had a bag, right? He had a little more influence.
Okay.
So he was doing all this and whining and dining and let's do this. But when that trouble came, that club night, that club instance where the shooting went down and all of that, J-Lo became Jenny on the block and hopscotched away. She got out of there. So the point I'm making is this. Look at Jonathan Majors, prominent actor that got on the rise. I'm making a point.
Okay. All right.
Got on the rise. Everybody's like, oh, he's a phenomenal. He was over here connected he was over in another genre of life with another genre of race, right? Trouble came. Race whipped him good. Then what did he do? He is now being rehabilitated by a sister.
Wow.
So to some women, it feels like a slap in the face. It's almost like, yeah, I'm here for you, but it's like, look, okay, you all footing fancy and you going on over there, but why is it that we always have to be the strong backbone after the fact and not ahead of time? You understand what I'm saying? That's all. That's the only reason. So, and I know that there are certainly exceptions to the rule and phenomenal women of all races that can love and have had healthy upbringings and know how to offer someone something. But a lot of times, it's just of my belief, I've seen a lot of our brothers and sisters, like on the female side is a whole nother thing. I'll get to that. But I've seen our brothers get used because of who they are, their Afro beauty, their talent, their athleticism, all of the things, their sexual myths, all of the things that come with that. They all want them all around the world.
Right.
But the minute that man gets under the x-ray, it's always the cage gets rattled. And it's like, look, I'm here, but I'm not here for all of that. And what you have to understand is when you take on a complicated black man, you have to be able to say, I'm ready to take the good, the bad, and ugly. Because we are far more than just handsome, cute, built, strong, sexual, whatever. It's a whole lot of stuff internally that black men need to make them work right? And so you got to have that kind of woman that's going to be resoundingly resilient, not opportunistic, right? Bruce, anyway, so on the female side, tell her Bruce ain't no myth. Yeah, on the female side, we have the women. I'm gonna tell you what I've always paid attention to. Forget about the ratchet hip hop culture. Let's talk regular everyday people.
Yeah.
When I see white men, Italian men, or whomever guys that come over and are attracted to our women, they don't just pick subpar. They hand pick the best of the best. They get the best looking. They get the ones that got the great this, that, and the other. And it's almost like it takes me back to the times to make you feel like they're picking. Like I often think about when it's draft time. I'm not a racist, guys. I promise you. I love all colors, shapes, sizes.
Here we go.
When I see these drafts and when I see these men come over and get our women, it makes it feel like we are shiny things on a block to be auctioned off and possessioned. That's what it feels like we're being possessioned as opposed to loved. It's like, look at this beautiful one. I found her right down there on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. And she look at her, fellas. But what most of the women can attest to, those men will do all of these things. But the minute you offend them and make them feel challenged, it is you are nothing but a so-and-so. I'll take you back where I found you. It's a reality check. It's always that reality check to bring you into the point that, I set you up here. I've done this for you. But if you come against me or make me feel disrespected, I will bring you back to the reality and drop you back off down there on the east side of Brooklyn. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? It's like a reality check. So that's why we just have to be able to own our stuff. And I'm just going to say this on the record. As black people, as black men and women, it's okay for everyone. People can choose to love who they want to love. and marry who they want to marry. But
Right.
there has to be a remnant of us that are left to carry on the race. Because I'm just going to call it like it is. If everybody is choosing to love outwardly and procreate outwardly, what happens to the inward color that exists? It won't no longer exist. If we continue to this, it's all right. Oh, that's cute. Oh my God, live your best life. And all the while, as a race, we're living a tacky life because we left with the change and the residue. And everybody else is just, all the other races are intact as a race. Although you have your one-offs, this one is over here, your Jenny Ma and the Young Jeezy and all those one-offs, right? But after all of those things, the race overall, if we did percentages, the percentages of them still together as a race and married is far higher than the African American community. We are so split and broken, and we doing us, and we over here, we outside, and just all over the place. And it's just like, listen, we got to say to ourselves, let's wake up and just realize that if, we can get this together. I personally think that one of the biggest divides between Black women and Black men is we're just a little too familiar with one another. We take each other for granted. We know each other's stuff. Oh, you got baby mamas and all this. And, oh, you got baby daddies. Oh, you this. Oh, you got PPP loan. We rag each other down to nothing. And so as a result of that, what we fail to realize is when you pull someone all the way down to the point of nothing, there's what's left to be attracted to? Nothing. So you decide. Now, that's not to say that people won't deal with each other physically and whatever that looks good about that. But in terms of taking it seriously, to have a man or a woman take the marriage to another level, it changes. And so we're left with this broken residue while everyone else is just off consistently doing them within their race. You understand what I'm saying?
So I'm looking at the comments and everybody's in the comments. So Demetria is asking, what is Black love? What is Black love? How are we defining that in terms of the race? Because if Black men and Black women aren't together, then how are we, what is that?
Yeah, what is it? So to me, Black love is like, if you think about like back in the day, remember how we would act when we saw parades? Remember parades back in the day? We were kids. We saw the parade.
They still have parades. They still have.
But I mean, but back there was something different about parades. Like now, it's so commercialized and different. But back in the day, when you saw parades, it was like, oh, it was like the best thing. You sit out there all day, you watch it, and all this. I'm saying that to say, back in the day, there was a renaissance of Black love that looked beautiful. When you saw it, you was like, oh, like the woman took care of herself. She didn't look tacky, and he looked dressed up. They were consistently holding one another up image-wise. And they were moving, they were prospering. Even if they didn't have it and they were out in the country and struggling to get by, they still loved each other. So people from the outside saw that and gleaned and admired to be like, wow, what is it about them that they can hold this long and keep going? And so that is the beauty and glue of the Black community. We are resilient people. We have obviously been through hell and high water and we still swimming, right? And so I'm saying that to say we have the potential, if we cut out the buffoonery and the Showtime stuff, we have the potential to be the beautifulest front runners in love. People would look at us and seeing us pick up the pieces and put our families back together and doing this, and the fathers are present with their children, mothers are present, because nowadays the mothers are just as absent as the fathers. You got mothers as grandmothers taking care of the kids, and the mothers off in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? So all kinds of stuff is happening nowadays. And so I just think we have abandoned the post called Black love. We have went off, and this post is still sitting here waiting for us to kind of get our mind right. But we kind of like, we all over the place. But we have to say to ourselves, listen, Black love is just a strong, consistent institution of agreeable melanin, Demetra, in by way of a black man and a black woman. And it's like a solid core that we need to get back to be, to have a prayer today. Because on the outside looking in through the fleshly eye, it don't look too good. But I believe we can overcome it if we control how we're being programmed. Because right now, our community social media is tearing us up.
Okay.
If we regain the controlling, of how we're programmed, we can get our minds right. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get what you're saying. I think there's, like you said before, I think there's definitely a schism between black men and black women.
Yeah.
And we really have not done enough, or what we should have been doing, in order to solve the schism that's between black and black women.
Yeah.
We haven't taken enough active, proactive steps to really begin to allow this schism, for whatever it is, to begin to heal, and really have a conversation about this, and not just a conversation just to say or to air our grievances as to, what I don't agree with, what I don't like. How come I'm being treated like this? How come, why am I treating you like that? But a real conversation addressing whatever the issues actually are, and then solving those issues.
Yeah. I
think it's one thing to say, I'm offended at this and I'm offended at that. But it's a whole nother thing to say, okay, what are we going to do with this? How are we going to move forward from this place and bring about a reconciliation and a healing between black men and black women, and really address the issues for what they are. Again, not just area, because I think a lot of times, if looking on social media and different kinds of podcasts, everybody's talking about how offended they are. Everybody's talking about how hurt they are. Everybody's talking about how they've been mistreated. As a result of them being mistreated in a certain way, they no longer want to deal with their race. They for whatever reasons, maybe they feel excommunicated. They feel like they've been exiled.
Yeah.
But my thing is, we're talking about the issues in that way, but we're not talking about them in a way that brings resolution to the issue. We're not talking about bringing some type of healing to the issue so that we can actually address what the actual problem is and move forward. I'm not one of those people who would just talk about a problem and just talk about a problem and just talk about a problem, because after a while, I'm going to get tired of talking about the problem.
Yeah, no, that's it.
I want to talk about what the solution is. How do we resolve this? How do we make this better? How do we get past this in terms of bringing healing and wholeness that's necessary for the black culture and the black community? And I'm speaking as a man who's in an interracial marriage and who loves his wife. But how are we going to resolve this thing? How are we going to bring about some type of reconciliation and healing in this?
Okay, situation? So let's take. So Demetra made a point that we could. She says, okay, now that's the same reason many don't want to engage in black love, because behind the scenes there was abuse. What we saw was a facade. Now, true as that may be, if we're going to peel that onion back, let's think about back in those days, you had more stay-at-home wives, right? So I'm saying that to say, yes, we know that everything wasn't perfect. In some cases, the men have families across town, right? Somewhere else. But if we're honest, the generations that follow the era of our mothers and grandmothers have more of an advantage, because back then, mothers and grandmothers they didn't like the abuse or the mistreatment. They just didn't have, in some cases, the resources to reallocate themselves. They didn't have the resources to say, let's get the kids and move out tomorrow. We're not dealing with this. A lot of times the dad was the only one working. So heck, we see that in real life now. When people get divorced, they want to maintain a certain standard of living. They don't want to be lesser or go to somewhere where they're not going to be living like they were when they were married. So I think a lot of the women back in those days that may have have been met with situations that were less than positive when it comes to Black love, I believe they chose to stay because they felt like they didn't have choices back then. Shy of taking their kids and moving in with their mother, grandmother, or whom else, they stayed. Now, in today's world, women have more resources, if not as much as men. So if they're met with those situations where you run up on a red flag of somebody being a striker, guess what? You don't have to stay. You can afford to leave, right? If you need to. It's a different opportunity available to the women nowadays than there were back then. And so I think I'm saying that to say we don't like, those are some unfortunate instances of Black love. But then as much as we can pick on the side of abuse, there still are some of you that will say, oh my God, I love my grandfather the way he loved my grandmother. We still had good examples in some cases of solid men and women that stood on business back then that we can say to ourselves, we can pattern after that in the form of Black love.
Okay. I mean, yeah. So, and I think one of the things that who is it? Is Demetria, and I think I saw it too with she's talking about it, and I think this is something that we really need to discuss as a culture, as a community of people, and that is the traumatic psychological experiences that we have gone through. Yeah. Because I really do believe that's part of the issue. The fact that for some reason, for one or the other, we have not been able to really deal with, or we have neglected to deal with our trauma as a community of people. We have neglected to deal with the experience that may have scarred us. And I'm not even necessarily talking about what we have experienced as individuals. Yes, in part, yes, that's true. But also as a people, a generational trauma and psychological experiences that have damaged us to the point where we don't feel like we can trust one another. We don't feel like we are able to be vulnerable with one another. We don't feel like we can actually trust ourselves to the other person within our community. And I think, again, it's going to take us to be absolutely honest about where we are. Hear me real good. It's going to take us to be really honest about where we are so that we can begin to chart where we're going. Because if we're not going to be honest about this, if we're going to continue to air our grievances without any real purpose to bring healing and wholeness to our lives and to one another, then there's no point in discussing this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's no point in terms of having this conversation if we aren't willing to do the work to bring healing and reconciliation between the Black man and the Black woman. And that's just real talk. Yeah. Because I think for so long we have talked about this, and I've heard this for years now. Yeah. We've talked about this, but we really haven't begun to deal with it as it actually is. We talk about it. It's our platform. We get on, again, we're YouTubing it. We got our social media platforms in terms of us putting it out there and discussing it. But are we really wanting to resolve the issue? Because sometimes the issue has become so addictive to us, and we've made such accommodations for ourselves with it that we have learned how to make our trauma a part of who we are.
Yeah.
Instead of learning how to heal it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got the bandage on, and you're walking around on crutches, but now you become so used to having the bandage on and walking around on crutches that when somebody brings you the remedy for the problem and they want to bring healing to you, that's foreign to you because the crutches and the bandage have become your reality, your normal. You know what I'm saying? And so at some point in time, we gotta really begin to deal with this thing because listen, I'm not the type of person to continue to talk about something without coming to a resolution about the situation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's a thing where I believe over time it has become a convenient and pleasurable outcry. I always say it's today the best seat in the house is the seat of the victim. And so having the victim seat gives us the excuses to navigate through a lot of relationships, why it didn't work. If we did the work, we don't have no more room for excuses.
Right.
So people don't want to not be able to blame someone else.
Right.
Oh, it was the men.
Right.
The men didn't do this. Oh, the ladies was fast, whatever. So we would rather be able to just pinpoint specific reasons as to why this broke down, this didn't work because I couldn't depend on this, that, and the other. So we use these things as an excuse. Now, all of us, everybody listening all around the world know what it takes to fix what's going on with you. We know the things that we don't do well, we don't excel well at in relationships, in marriages. We just don't want to do the work to fix it. We would rather be able to be comfortable, but be able to make the excuses when issues arise. Yeah. So if we were all fixed and there was nothing else to complain about, heck, do you know how many divorces will happen? Because now there's no more trauma bonding.
Right.
There's no more negative attraction. It's just people think positivity is lame and boring. Wow. Nobody wants to be Leave It to Beaver no more. They don't remember that family. They don't want to be the Partridge Family, the Brady Bunch. People want to be good times. And James lost his job and got here. We want to have all the problems. We don't want to have.
Why don't you say Family Matters? Why don't you say the Huxtables? Why are you naming all these white families?
Because
bro, what's up, man?
All the husbands got scandal. But listen, I'm being strategic, specific. But anyway, listen, man.
You know what, dude?
No, but you're right. Even in the Huxtables, image-wise, and the Family Matters, image-wise, I was just using family. That is
I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you.
As an example, saying that. Heck, we have examples to do right, but in this day and time, if you show up, listen, if a family get up there and they was like, and we see a positive black family, the kids look healthy, they don't look like somebody's being dysfunctional, the husband looks like he's into his wife, he loves his wife, or the wife is all looking up at her husband like she loves him, everybody's in the crowd, I ain't going for it, just give it a couple of months, somebody's going to cheat, they no such thing as nobody perfect. You know what I mean? We automatically throw darts at it because we don't respect normalcy anymore. We only respect drama. People that bring us drama, that's what we want. We don't want the stuff that's normal, good for us. We want the things that's going to give you the problems, the things you can't trust. Oh, don't be cheating on me. Can you stop cheating? All this kind of stuff. We take all the things that are just unnatural and we thrive around it. So I think for us, like you said, on all these podcasts that are going on, where you either got the men and the women at war, or you have all men talking about women, all women talking about men, unless we are coming to the table and bringing up peaceful resolve to these issues and really having those hard conversations, this is going to be a conversation in 10 years and then 20 years if we bless to make it. You know what I'm saying? It's going to keep going on. Getting worse and worse and worse unless we stop and fix it.
No doubt. And I think, too, me, when it comes to doing your personal work, you absolutely have to do your personal work. You gotta take care of yourself as an individual because nobody else is going to do that for you but you. Yeah. So you got to do your personal work and dealing with whatever you so as a black community, we have just now begin to embrace therapy and counseling. But how many years has it been that we did not do that? That was almost shunned or it was stigmatized. Yeah. Oh, you crazy. Oh, you done lost your mind, literally.
That's because our therapy used to be the pastor.
Right. But the reality was the pastor could only take you but so far because he only had a level of training, a certain level of training to be able to deal with your mental issues. Now you've gotten to a point and place in your life mentally where you need somebody who has a higher level of degree to be able to help counsel you to a place so you can begin to resolve your personal issues. You know what I'm saying? And I really do believe that's played a large part in terms of the black community, men and women coming together on a greater level, because we've ignored the issue for so long. Again, going back to the analogy of the crutch and the bandage, we have ignored the fact that we are on crutches, that we got this bandage.
Yeah,
we've ignored it, and we've acted like it's normal. We've acted like it's okay, that this is the way I'm supposed to function. This is the way I'm supposed to be, rather than realize that this is not the way it's supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be on crutches.
No,
I'm not supposed to have this wound on my leg all bandaged up. I'm supposed to be healed. But
we have to fix that, because honestly, again, we all have had wonderful upbringings. If you were a person in church, and there's the good, the bad, the ugly, but nonetheless, there were good traditions that we all were raised in. However, like I said back then, I can remember there were two types of therapy going on. There was either the church, where there was the pastor, or there was the pimp in the street. The pimp on the street, he had his therapy for the lost that came to his church, and in the church, the pastor had the therapy for those that sat in the congregation. There were two men of influence. And then on the female side, you had the madams. Everybody had their eras of influence. And so we as black people, we came through those channels of being like, that's right, you're so right about that. So we took that forward. And as opposed to us showing up later as healthy individuals, we showed up as people in our 50s, 60s, in our marriage, still talking about, now, mama, if your grandmother's still alive, your mother's still alive, what's the name of that pastor down there in South Carolina? Me and Beverly want to have a conversation. You like, go to counseling, right? Go to a healthy therapist. But in our mind, we're thinking, this is probably the way that I need to do this. And so, like I said, it's never too late to be redirected if you're willing. If you have a willing heart. It's never too late to turn around the stinking thinking, as I say, and fix some of these things that were just kind of offset in our upbringing. So that's why I think a lot of this largely stems from. They in the comments,
Demetria has already said the pastor is just as mentally challenged. And then Dion said, now the pastor and the pimp are the same person. She not wrong. She not wrong. She not wrong.
Oh my gosh.
She is not wrong, yo.
But you know why that is? We've kept them in those positions. We've allowed it to be so.
We've enabled.
We have allowed that to. We have seen so long. It shouldn't be a day. Let me just say this. In the African American community, this is one of the things that I have seen for years, because I was raised in the church. And been in church many years. It shouldn't be a situation where too many times, I think this comes to one of the greatest temptations when it comes to church in the form of leadership, because I think the pastor has the highest level of accountability, right? Don't beat me up. All right. So I'm saying this to say, as a pastor, do you know how much authority you have over the minds of people? So you have a great responsibility to be in the highest level of integrity humanly possible, right? Absolutely. Because you have people that, there are pastors can sit back and they can either wielder their power for the good or wielder it for the bad. True. And so when you wielder it for the bad, I have seen so many families, specifically women, that it almost make you want to say, okay, you have a physical father, that's your father. You got a heavenly father, you got a husband, and you got a pastor. And so, and a lot of the times, do you know who a lot of the weight unfortunately went to? The pastor. The word of the pastor held more weight in most cases than your own father and husband. Forget about listening to the Lord. We're listening to the right now person right here. And this person said this, and this. And I'm just keeping it above. I'm telling you what I done seen and experienced. I have seen the women come out of there or say things that they would come home and the husband will have a say, and they would bust him out based off what the pastor told them at church. Forget about your own marriage, but they will bust that pastor out and say, you're not following the will of God. It don't matter what you think about the will of God. We're in covenant. You married me before you got into that church.
Right.
So we're in covenant. So you don't get to go there now, browbeat me backwards because you realize you're a great woman of God after your decision to marry me. right? And vice versa. It's vice versa. It happens on both sides. But I'm only saying that to say I think we have gotten it wrong gravely as to how we allow our marriages to disseminate and disseminate at the hands of people that should be placed in our lives to be blessings to us.
Right. I got
and so that's the only thing I'm saying on that.
Yeah, you done gone off on a whole nother tangent. That's a whole nother show by itself.
I'm passionate about that. No, I'm just playing. But
No.
That's
But
real
that's
talk.
real talk. That's real
Almost
talk.
more times than not, I see it happen in people's lives before they're married, and after their marriage. That influence.
Yeah.
That shouldn't. It's a certain level of respect that should be there, but by no means should there be influence that trumps your spouse at all. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I could say some things about that, but we don't.
Yes.
We out of time, literally.
No. Oh, now we out of town. No,
I mean, no. Well, okay. So real quick, I really do believe. I really do believe it's about that level of accountability.
Correct.
That pastor needs to be held accountable. There needs to be a system of sandwich accountability within the organization of that church, because the pastor cannot be a law unto himself. He cannot be above. He cannot be above the law, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Believers. He cannot be above the law. Okay. He has to be held accountable for all of his actions because he has the responsibility for the congregation. Okay. So again, just to make that short and sweet, like right there, that's what needs to happen with that. That's what needs to happen with it. He cannot be allowed to abuse his power because, again, his responsibility are the people of God. And he's an under shepherd at the end of the day.
Yeah.
He's an under shepherd. He's not the shepherd. He's the under shepherd.
Wow. Okay.
So he needs to be held accountable for whatever his actions are. Okay. So yeah, that's, like I said, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah, totally. We got to remember that one. But anyway, we appreciate you all today for tuning in to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio as we tried to tackle the plight of Black love today. Does it still exist? This is, like I said, this is going to be an ongoing thing that we may pick up a little later in the months because we can't get it all done in one time because it's so vast.
Yeah.
But I think it was good to start gnawing away at it and put some thoughts on people's minds, in the interim of time.
Yeah.
So much love to y'all. We'll be back next week. Same channel, same time, 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, Thursdays.
Did I see Maria in the comments? Maria wasn't in the comments? Okay, anyway, we good. All right, guys.
What'd you say? Hello?
No, she got what?
You pack his bags. Oh, he chose a side today. All right.
Hello? What? You said? Oh, you said you're looking for Charles? Okay, I'm gonna tell you.
All right, y'all. We out.
That was work, bro. That felt like work, man. What the heck?
Welcome to Unplugged.
Oh God.
Where we pull out all the sockets that we plugged in. Anyway.
Of course.
Yes. So listen. I'm just going to say this, and I'll put this out there. I do strongly believe, I honestly believe, if you find love and the person is green and you red, so be it. If it's genuine, authentic love, be your greatest version of yourself. The reason for this conversation today was just simply that there are those of us that know we are not authentic about why we do what we do. Okay. And we pander in and around the races. And after a while, it begins to make it becomes like a mockery. It really does. It becomes a mockery of embarrassment to our culture, right? And so the whole point of this whole show is put some respect on the Black culture. That's it.
Wow.
Foolish and buffoonery going on is just not cool at all. It's just not. It's just like, look, what are we doing? We don't look like Kevin Hart said on his stand-up. We don't look good as a unit at all. We just look all over the place. We got to settle ourselves in, fix these issues, fix these problems that we have, and let's just get to it. I mean, it's not that hard. We know one another's struggles, one another's shortcomings, one another's issues. So no better person to help iron those out than the person who can identify with you.
True.
Yeah. I know you want me to say something bad. All right, here comes something bad.
No, that's not what I want you to do. I don't want you to do that.
This is how you get over this whole plight is you marry the Black man, the Black woman, and have the other races on the side. Anyway.
But you know what?
Let
me just say this real quick. And this is probably y'all gonna be like, oh no, he didn't. Yeah, he did. Because it's the unplugged version. It's the unplugged version.
All right, okay, go ahead.
So somebody, and I'm not even gonna be specific. I'm gonna be very general so nobody knows what's going on. But somebody told me that after they finished their marriage with their white husband, that they were going to upgrade to a Black husband. I was like, wait, what? I didn't know I was an upgrade. Let me find out. But anyway.
Wow. They didn't see it that way. But you know what it is?
Like that.
That just comes down to how that upgrade is found in the way the person sees the Black person from their vantage point. They're looking at it as an upgrade, I guess, depending on what they want out of it.
I was like,
have at it.
I was like, well, you can't have this upgrade. This upgrade is off the market.
Yeah, he's off the market. Yeah, I'm telling you. So yeah, man, it's crazy. But I feel like I said, like you said, there are those that just, we just need to continue to keep educating folks and just kind of letting them know what's what and going from there and dealing with stuff. You know what I'm saying? To keep things keep it a buck and help folks out.
Real talk. Real talk.
What'd you say?
I said real talk.
All right now. Well, hope y'all. I don't want to. If I stay on here too long, I'm going to start saying bad stuff.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. All right, buddy.
Peace, y'all.